Okay, so hello and welcome, and thank you for joining me for the Raising Your Money Vibration intro call. And this call is designed as an introduction to the 10-part program that is going to be coming up after this. To give you an overview of what the program entails, give you a sense of some of the background and rationale and reason for putting it together. Also going to give you a little taster of some of the exercises, also for those of you who have signed up and who would like to have a quick sort of money oracle card reading. We'll do that at the end as well. So let us begin and get started. So first of all, actually, for those of you I haven't met before, in case you've not figured it out, I'm Marilyn Devonish from transformationstm.com, and I'll give you a little bit of an intro later on because I know there'll be people watching this who have never met me before. So in terms of an overview, in terms of the webinar, we're going to look at the Raising Your Money Vibration program. We're going to look at, overall outcomes in terms of my initial creation, and of course that's going to be changing and adjusting as we get started because your outcomes will get fed into that as well. I'm also going to explain what I think is kind of the unusual program rationale, and you'll see what I mean when we get to that. A little bit about me for those who haven't met me before. Also going to share with you some client success stories so you just get a sense of potentially what you can expect. And of course, everybody's going to get different results. Towards the end of this, if you would like to, we'll do some money oracle card readings with my new money oracle deck. And also just kind of, I've got a few starter processes lined up. So based on the feedback I get and the questions that you're asking and the things that you're saying, for those of you who are here live, we'll choose a starter process in terms of getting you moving with this and also using it as a warm-up for the 10-part program that will be coming. So that's what we're going to be doing. If you have any questions or queries, you can put those into the chat. So the chat is, you guys can read the chat. The Q&A comes directly to me, so nobody else can see the Q&A. So you have the option of that's how you will interact during this particular webinar. And at various points, I'll cycle back round and just check both the chat and the Q&A. So that's cool. So everybody's saying the chat is working. Yes, cool, fabulous. So in terms of the money oracle card reading, if you would like a money oracle card reading, then put a note in as well, because it'll just save time. Because if at the end I go, who would like reading? And if you've booked on a money program already, Raise Your Vibration program, and you'd like a reading, put a note in, and then if I've got a bit of time as well, I'll do a couple of extras. So guest 130 says yes please, and 3 exclamation marks. Okay, actually let me do that. It's going to be cool because I don't know who people are either. When I do, because we have something called Tarot Tuesday, my membership group, where I do tarot readings for anyone who would like them via Facebook Live, but I know who I'm reading for, so it's going to be really interesting. So we've got guest 130 and 709 and Winnie. Alrighty, so I will cycle back and check that out as well. So as we go through, cool. Right, so stay tuned because we'll do that towards the end. If you'd like a reading, that would be fabulous. First of all, the way I always start my workshops, my webinars, teleseminars, all of that sort of stuff, my photo reading workshops, you name it, we start with intention. Of course, if you're a photo reader, the word will be purpose, but for me, depends what I'm talking about. So I would say, why did you sign up for this webinar? And what would you most like to know? What would you like to learn? Or what would you like to take away from this session? So you can, if you're feeling chatty, you can put that into the chat. You can put that into the Q&A. It'd be interesting for me to know that as well. So why did you sign up? And what would you most like to know? What would you most like to learn? Or what would you most like to take away? So what is your intention? Because for those of you who have worked with me before, you will know that when you've set a clear intention or purpose, it wakes up a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. And that part will then wake up when we get to a point where I am talking about or sharing something that you are interested in. So intention, start thinking about that. If you want to, you can type it into the chat, you can type it into the Q&A as well. My intention, just thinking about it, what is my intention? My intention is to share with you what this program is about, give you some background information to it, and also use this as a springboard and a starting point for the 10-part series that comes thereafter. And, you know, over and above doing the basics of that, my intention is that all of you who are either here live or those of you watching the recording will take something useful away that you can put into practice straight away to start to raise your vibration. So that'll be the intention for me. Somebody says, I'd like to release all and any blocks around money, and I'd like to create a positive regular income. Some of us signed up because you're doing something new. Also, new vibe here, so wondering about the money vibe now. Cool, that is fantastic. Excellente. Okay, fab. And I'll cycle, and as I'm asking the questions, just for, you know, process of time, I will just cycle back every once in a while and check on the chat and check on the Q&A, just so we can kind of keep this moving. And of course, if you're watching this as a replay, you'll have a pause button if at any point you wanted to pause and ponder the question and kind of go into it in more detail. So in terms of the main program, the outcome of the program is things that we're going to be looking at doing is exploring your relationship with money. And there's one of my favorite exercises. It comes from the 28-day eCoaching program that I created 3-4 years ago, the Money Breakthrough program. But the money relationship one, number one, it freaks people out. But number two, it is so insightful. So that's definitely going to be in this program as well. So we're going to explore your relationship with money. Because my starting point, I don't often go around in life making loads of assumptions. However, my assumption for this program is there are things that you feel about money that are less, let's put it this way, they're less than positive. So we're going to start looking at how you change how you feel about money. We're going to have some processes to cut old money, you know, genealogical ties, ancestral ties, karmic ties. If you believe in past life, then looking at past life ties. So we're going to have some processes to do that, because I know that a lot of the times the beliefs people hold about money and the way they represent money, the way they talk about money, the way they think about money, the way they feel about it, the way they interact with it, doesn't even belong to them. They've picked it up in terms of their genealogy, in terms of their ancestry, even in terms of society and what society dictates and tells them. So it's always an interesting one. So we'll do some work around that. We're also going to change what I call the kind of dichotomies and paradigms around money, because it's often, you know, almost like a bit adversarial, a bit like them and us. And so looking at those paradigms and what you can do to change them. It's also going to be, we're going to focus on resolving and releasing old negative emotions, limiting beliefs around money, and the way that the judgments you potentially have about it may limit you as well. And it's going to be a mix of experiential exercises. We're going to do energy clearings. There's going to be guided meditations. And one of the questions I had, and I've got a list of the questions, thank you for sending them in. I'll run through them if I haven't already answered them as a result of doing this webinar today. But one of the questions somebody had is, how is this different to the 28-day eCoaching program? And I was like, good question. I think for me, the way I would say it, the 28-day eCoaching program was much more analytical, process and pragmatic. Very, you know, it's coaching. So every day for 28 days, you get a 2-page PDF document with a bit of a background. There's a quote that is related to whatever the subject matter is. And then there's anything from, you know, 6 to 10 steps in terms of a coaching exercise to do. So that's a 28-day eCoaching program. This program is almost like the other facet and the other side of that, and is much more, I guess the way I'd say it is much more spiritual, much more esoteric, and much more energetic. That's the kind of the way I would put it. Actually, I think I set up a poll for this. Oh yeah, right. So I'm going to put a poll there's a poll now that should be in, I think it's in the chat. And just so I have a sense, so when I say 28-day program, how many of you have done the 28-day program, and have you done it, yes or no? So there's a poll in there now, and that'll give me a sense of a steer, because I don't want to talk about things if everybody's done it, that you already know about. Fab. It's quite fun. I do like this. I like this platform. So either the no's have it at the moment. So I'll check back on that as well as we go. So that's basically kind of what we're looking at in terms of the program. In terms of how we're going to be doing that, clearing the old money beliefs, cutting ancestral ties. Those are processes in and of their own right. We're going to do some past life readings and clearings, and I've put a little star there because it's going to be dependent on the group who are there. And you're almost acting as a proxy for people who will come thereafter and pick this up as a recording. There's a process that I created a year or so ago, The Soul of Money. Really, I love that one. So we're going to do that as a guided meditation. That's an MP3 that you can kind of download and listen to. With the clearing of the negative emotions, looking at the judgments, looking at the limitations, there's going to be stuff like access consciousness that we're doing, because that's a favorite modality of many of my clients. And it is just so quick at just whizzing through and clearing stuff. And those of you who have experienced Huna and Access, you'll know that. There's also going to be a process that will come, middle end is meeting the ultimate future you. So that's going to be a mix of kind of going out into your future timeline and also some future life progression, and meeting the ultimate best version of you who has achieved the things you want to achieve and done the things you want to do. So there'll be that. We're also going to kind of do some Ho'oponopono and some Huna chakra clearing, chakra alignment work, and also some stuff with the soul blueprint and realigning the DNA, etc. Oh, it's even Stevens. It's 50-50 in terms of have done the 28-day and not. So that's cool. Thank you for filling that in. So that's in terms of some of the modalities that we are going to be using, and I'll talk a bit more about those as we go through as well. And for those of you, particularly if you're watching this as a recording, you want to press the pause. If you want information about the new program I'm talking about, you can go to www.bit.ly/money vibration, and you'll see that there are 4 different packages, and I'll talk about those packages a bit later on as well. But that's the link if you wanted to go and have what I could probably do as well. I'll drop it into the chat as well, make it easier than, let me do that, Control V. All right, so that's in the chat as well if you wanted to go and have a look in terms of just an overview of what we're going to be doing. That is that. So, program rationale. Because I started creating this a few weeks ago, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, when I started designing the money oracle cards. I thought, actually, because the cards are going to be a bit more spiritual based, they're going to, I guess, follow kind of like tarot style. I then thought it'd be really nice to put this program together. So I thought that was the rationale. And then I really sat down yesterday as I was preparing for this webinar and thought, why am I actually doing this? What is this about? And a few words came to mind, and the words that came to mind are here on the screen. It says celebrity, suicide, and having it all. What I mean by that is money, the word money. People with money often say money doesn't matter. It's no big deal. It's not that important. Trust me when I tell you, if you haven't got enough money, it kind of feels like everything. And it kind of feels like if you just had enough money, you'd be able to do this and you'd be able to do that, and money would make everything okay. But as I sat back and I just observed even if I just look at this week, if I observe the last 3 or 4 weeks, in the past 7 days, I know of 4 celebrities, and that's just in passing. I haven't been reading okay and hello and all that. It's just come across my radar. I know of 4 celebrities who have committed suicide in the past week. So these are people who had money, what we would call wealth. They had fame, celebrity, and basically were living the life which in our Western material world, we would consider having it all. In terms of the red carpet is rolled out wherever you go. You have adoring fans. You've got X million people following you on Instagram. And they were wealthy, had a lot of money, had all the trimmings and trappings that, wealth and money and that sort of lifestyle can bring you. So the question then becomes, well, hold on a minute. If they've got the thing that many are aspiring to, and it is kind of the be all and end all, why is it then that they would take their own lives? There's got to be more to it than that. And I know that Jim Carrey famously says, he wishes everyone could be wealthy so that they could realize that it's not the be all and end all. But we intellectually know that. We intellectually know that if money and wealth was it, then all of the celebrities and all of the people who were millionaires and billionaires would be happy, 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 and they're not. And they're not, to the extent that many of them are, you know, taking their own lives. And so that, for me, when I sat down and thought about it yesterday, I thought that for me is the rationale of this program. And we're going to talk about some of the disclaimers of this program as well. What I mean by that, it is to help you to feel good. Because when you don't have money, when you are under pressure, you can't think straight. It's almost like you're stuck. You can, some people can barely get out of bed. The thought of waking up every single day is just like devastating. It's like kind of dragging yourself through treacle. And so the whole thing about raising your money vibration, when you feel good, you can think straight. When you feel good, you can access that left and right brain creativity. When you feel good, you have energy. You no longer have that lethargy. You no longer have that sense where you're being dragged down and dragging yourself through the day, and a sense of dread. When you feel good, your net worth doesn't automatically define your sense of value, and it doesn't automatically define your self-worth. Because oftentimes people will look at what's in their bank account, and when you already have a load of other things going on, then they start to diminish and devalue themselves as human beings. And also, when you feel good, you can number one, you can see opportunities because your mind is clear. You're like a clear vessel and a clear channel. And not only will you see and notice opportunities, you can act on those opportunities. And also, when you feel good, you are in that place, in that space where it's and for the person who says no visuals and no sound, what you might want to do, if you might want to refresh your screen, hopefully it's just the one person that's doing, but if you do a refresh, hopefully that will bring it back for you. And you're more in that place, in that space of divine flow. And if we're talking about it in those terms, that's the place and space where the law of attraction kicks in. And with me in the law of attraction, I don't talk about it that much because I know that for many people it's kind of been misconstrued and, you know, taken out of proportion, and it's something that often for people acts as a hindrance rather than a help. And we'll talk about some of that during the program as well. But what I would say with regards to that, you are more likely to be in the place and the space where you can manifest, where you can create, and where you can generate when you feel good. So the whole thing about kind of creating the kind of the vibration around it is the whole piece then, that when you feel good, those things will start to happen, and those things will start to fall into place. So that for me was the kind of the big rationale sort of around this. There's also going to be an element of something that I do with my membership group. We have a thing called Wisdom Wednesday, where we're going back through the ages, you know, right back to some of the old ancient teachings, Aristotle. We've also had stuff like Oprah and Jennifer Lopez and Catherine Ponder and you name it in between. But one of the things I want this program to do also is to help you tap into your own inner wisdom. Such that you are not necessarily always then looking outside of yourself, but when you are in that place, in that space of kind of, I think I'll just call it divine flow for now. When you're in that place, in that space, it is much easier for you to tap into your own wisdom, to start looking at what's right for you, being led in kind of in the kind of the right direction for you, and that's really kind of what we want to go for with regards to this. So that for me is kind of part of the rationale. In terms of the approach, it's going to be a real mixture. There's going to be some practical stuff. There's going to be some experiential stuff. We're doing it live webinars. There's going to be some journaling exercises. There'll be the transformation work. There's also going to be what I call the think tank exercises to activate this thing that we call the vortex. There's going to be some belief change work and energy clearing sessions, and also some MP3 downloads. So it's going to be a real mixture in terms of the way that the program is structured. What I want to say with regards to this one first, as the program disclaimer, even though you know, I've had previous clients who, you know, one that sticks in my mind, he was making about 10k a month, which actually does sound like a lot of money. However, when your outgoings are 12 to 14,000 a month, it's not really that much money. And within 4 weeks of doing a breakthrough session, he had his first £100,000 month ever, and has gone upwards from there. And I've had clients doing, you know, with the checks in the mail thing. I've had clients who have been out of work and out of contract for 9 months. We do a HUNA session and suddenly they've got not one but 2 jobs to choose from. Some of you know those people who are here because you're in the membership group and you've heard them talk about it in the free workshop that I run, the annual workshop that I run for the membership group. So you know who those people are. Some of them are. So even though I've had that for my clients, this is not a get rich quick, do this and it will make you money. It's not that. This is about changing the energy around it, and then from there you will get yourself into your creative space. So it's not offering you financial advice. I would say with things like the readings, the saying goes, this is for entertainment purposes only, and all of the decisions you make as a result of this information are your own decisions. So just being clear on that before we start, because everyone will be different. And I know with the client I'm talking about here who did 100k, and also the client when we did the who kind of got the process from the Future Life Progression session when she did the transformation program, both of them had structures in place to cope with that kind of income, and they also had products that they could sell which would generate that kind of cash. So some of you may not be there yet. You might not be in the position where you actually have the income flow to have that happen. So everybody is going to be different in terms of the results. Another thing I want to put in, and this is something that I use on all of my trainings, and it is think not that all wisdom is in your school. This is one of the sayings that I learned when I went out for the first time in, God, that would have been 2005, to study HUNA. And I just love this saying. And what it means is basically, in layman's terms, you might think that what you're doing is the best thing since sliced bread. However, there'll be so many other ways that you could approach this thing. So I might think it's the best thing since sliced bread. It doesn't mean it is. And if it resonates with you, that's great. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's great too. There'll be enough variety in the program for you to choose. And so it's saying be open, but it's not the be all and end all. There are going to be other ways that you can kind of do things. So kind of keeping that in mind as well as we go through. Right, let me just do that and do that. Cool. Fab. So that's kind of it in terms of, you know, the little bit of background in terms of what we're looking at, the processes, the modalities, etc. Also, just in terms of, just to give you a sense of what you can potentially expect. So this was from the very, very first time I launched the 28-day eCoaching program. So the thing you can, I know some people will be listening to this rather than looking. So this one says, for the first time in 4 years, both my business and personal accounts have positive balances above zero. I remember when I first, because that was the first line of the email, and I thought, well, that doesn't sound very good. And then I realized, I was like, okay, let me get this into context. What that meant is, previous to doing the money breakthrough program, to make ends meet at the end of it, she was either borrowing money from her parents or borrowing money from her boyfriend to pay the rent. So now when you look at it in that context, to be above zero and have positive balances, now that's a big deal, and particularly if it's been 4 years of borrowing and trying to shove money around. She also says, I'm really happy to have reached this first milestone. I'm sure it wouldn't have happened without your great support, Marilyn. That's fabulous. Another of my clients, you know, we did a breakthrough session. Their revenue is up by 300%, which is really nice, and he really tracks his revenue, so that's a true number. And you know, I've had really wonderful things happening for people in terms of ideas and opportunities that they've been in a position to see and act upon with regards to doing some of the coaching around it, looking at some of these issues and that sort of thing. So that's a little bit in terms of, you know, that. Also in terms of one of the questions I also got is, because this is remote in terms of webinars and MP3s, teleseminars, etc. My answer to that is it really doesn't matter. And I'll show you an example of somebody who listened to an MP3 after the fact. They weren't even with us live, but just to give you a sense of how the energy travels with this. This is one of my clients and a friend of mine, Lack Loy. Some of you might know Lack. And he kind of got, one of his friends had done a breakthrough session with me, and he was saying, oh, you know, nothing's working, contracts aren't coming in, I've been out of work for 9 months now, you know, getting down to the wire, I really need to sort something out. And they said, I'll speak to Marilyn and ask her to do some huna and stuff with you. So we just did it over the phone. And that week, suddenly out of the blue, a contract which has just disappeared and gone into nothing came back to life, and they actually said, can you start tomorrow? And he was like, oh my god, no. And he had to negotiate so he could start on the Monday, because it was such a shock. If you've been at home for 9 months to suddenly start tomorrow, that's a lot. And he's been in contract ever since. And we probably did this, I don't know, 3-4 years ago now. There was also somebody from my membership group who was exactly the same, and weirdly she had been out of contract for 9 months as well. We did a huna and access consciousness session, either telephone or Skype, and she was offered not 1 job but 2. And for those of you who are in the membership group, you know who this is, because she talked about it at the workshop. And I had somebody else that I did you know, soul plan reading for, and some tarot readings, and I apparently had said to them, you're going to be in a position where 2 people are going to be offering you work, and you are going to have to choose. And lo and behold, she went to an interview, got offered a job. She was on her way home and met somebody else that she used to work with, and said, oh, what are you doing here? And she said, oh, I've just been for an interview. I didn't know you got out of work. He offered her a job as well, and then there was a bidding war. So you know, that sort of thing is really cool. It does happen. And Lack has said, a lot of my clients will ring up or send messages going, you're not going to believe this. And he said, you're not going to believe this. I knew there was a block, now it's gone. You have an amazing ability, and it is having miraculous effects. And so, you know, that's just to give you a little bit of a flavor. Some of you would have heard me talk about Keith, for example, who's very specific, wanted and needed £10,000. And I will talk about it more on the program, but that's him with the £10,000 check that he won. And so in terms of the manifesting and the creating, when you get rid of some of these blocks and barriers, incredible, amazing things can happen. So, you know, that's really kind of what we're going for with regards to this program. And just to give you a sense of the energy traveling, this was from one of my lovely clients who lives out in Australia, who is actually on this webinar. Thank you for joining us. And she couldn't make it live, but listened to the MP3 recording. And this is basically her explanation of what happened and what she felt and what she experienced just from listening to the MP3. So even if you can't make things live, rest assured, and my intention is such also, that the energy will travel, and that you will get what you need with regards to the recording. So chill, relax, it's all good. And I'll leave that on for a sec if you want to have a read. And I'll start off with the people who are listening. So it says, initially my third eye, throat and heart center and solar plexus all felt compressed. It was uncomfortable to say the least. After the first round of huna, I sensed the image of a triangle of fire, which is really weird, because what they don't know, because when I'm doing huna, you have no idea what I'm doing. And that is one of the symbols that I use. I haven't got it in the slide deck, but I'll show it to you when we do the program. So when I read that line, I had goosebumps. I'm like, oh my God, that's what I did to start things off. She said, during the second round, I felt a pain being drawn out of my body via my heart center. I slowly began to feel lighter. My heart center opened more than previously, and I felt like I was glowing from the inside out. As I'm typing the phrase, as if the light of my soul is now able to shine through my heart center comes to mind, which is just lovely. She said the third round gave me a sense of the heart center expanding into the universe, and I now have a sense of feeling more open, and I believe I've totally cleared the blocks, feel confident, happy and positive, and I'm glowing from the joy of it all. And that was from someone listening to a recording. So even if you can't make stuff live, the energy, and that's the intention of it, will travel into the recordings. So that is brilliant. Cool. I'm saying that is brilliant, looking at the messages in the Q&A. But this is brilliant too. So just to give you a sense for people who are wondering if it's going to translate, if you can't be on everything live, it's fine. The energy really does travel. So first exercise I would like you to do is a quick money review. So first, the question is, how do you feel about money? And I'd say rate your feelings on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 equals terrible and 10 equals great, amazing, fantastic. And just, you know, jot that down, write it down, put it in the tablet, whatever. You don't have to share. If you want to put it into the Q&A or the chat, feel free, but there's no need to. But if you want to as a benchmark, that's cool. Then once you've rated it, and really go with what comes to mind, don't overanalyze the thing, just go, how do I feel about money on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 equals terrible, 10 equals great? What is the number that comes to mind? And go with that number. And then what I want you to do is choose 3 words that describe your current feelings about money. And then they're going to, I guess, be determined by the where you are on the scale. If it's a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or something like that, it might be, I don't know, you could be feeling stressed, worried, anxious, let down, disappointed, distraught, fearful, whatever it might be. And if you're more in the 7, 8, 9, 10 category, you might be feeling wonderful, abundant, joyful, plentiful, whatever it might be. But just choose 3 words that describe your current feelings about money. And my suggestion would be, and when we do this as an exercise on the main program, I'm definitely going to be, and what you might want to do also, for those of you who have already signed up, get yourself, this is kind of my money journal, where I put thoughts, affirmations, clearing statements and exercises in this. And the reason I've chosen this one, if I move it in the light, you can see it's kind of embossed with gold, and it's got the gemstone as the clasp, which I really, really like. The only thing it's missing is having the gold edging around the paper, but I'll let them off. But this is the one that I do my money affirmations and stuff in. So get yourself a nice journal, and you might want to write these down just to benchmark your starting point, so that as things change and progress, you have a sense where you can look back and go, oh my God, because often people will find their old journals or the notes that they made on a workshop. We had somebody that came to the free 1-day workshop that I run for the membership group, and she had a note where she went, oh my God. And she said, I've just come across some notes that I wrote when I was at the workshop last time. She said, I can't even believe that I was writing this stuff. I'm so different now. So you can really almost forget your starting point. So definitely write it down. So somebody has said, oh, I love it. So let's go back. I have a payee because I cannot handle money. I would just spend it. Somebody says today they're a number 6. Somebody said they chose number 5. Somebody else is saying money feels like it's out of reach. Money is just like water. Somebody else says I need more. And someone else says love, luck, and lack. I love it. And what we're also going to be doing, you know, when I talked about in the beginning, the dichotomies around money, and the dichotomies is like the opposing forces. So like the positive and negative. I don't know if you can see that. There's like diamonds on this one and a skull on this one. And this ring often sometimes disturbs people. It's a skull. And the reason I wore these purposely is about, we're going to be looking at the opposing forces, the positives and the negatives, because there can be times where you feel both good and bad about something all at the same time, which in and of itself creates a bit of a tug of war. So I love that. Love, luck, and lack. I love it. And also what comes up, I've just been talking about some of the client success stories. So clients going from struggling and being overdrawn every single month to making 100K, and a client coming up with an idea in a future life progression session, running a weekend workshop and kind of making 3 figures. So how do you feel about that? Are you kind of going, wow, that's amazing, good for them? Or be honest, and you don't, again, you can share if you want, or you don't have to, but or are you thinking, well, it's all right for them, and just notice how you feel about that, because all of that stuff is going to be mixed into this thing that we call abundance and this thing that we call attraction. And so you want to be aware of those feelings. Somebody says, guest 130 says, I love hearing about other people's experiences and success. I'd love to experience it too. Fabulous. My spelling is third. We're not checking your spelling. And somebody else says they feel that a change of luck is possible. And I love that, because one of the things I want is about opening up the space and the energy for possibility, because when you are in that space and place, it then gives you a sense of joy. It gives you a sense of expectation. It raises your energy levels, because you're almost like a kid in a candy store as the day kind of, dawns. And like, okay, what has today got in store? What has this week got in store? What has this month got in store? What has this year got in store? And that's a really nice energy to be in as well. So I love that. I love that. And so that's just the first little starter exercise. And we've got a few more of these that we're going to do. Just checking time. So for people who haven't met me before, let's just interject with that, just so you have a sense, because I guess it's polite to introduce oneself. So my name is Marilyn Devnis, particularly if you kind of skipped in at the middle bit. What I did is wide and varied. I had a very traditional, upbringing, did a business studies degree, postgraduate marketing diploma with the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Was an aspiring accountant, in terms I was studying to be a chartered accountant, but I was also very quiet, very shy, terrified of public speaking, and lacking in confidence and self-esteem, and ended up on a personal development training just to improve my communication skills, or so I thought. Went in October 2000 thinking it was a communication skills course, came out the other side a week later, a practitioner of NLP and hypnosis and timeline therapy. I loved it so much, because I went from, when I got the joining instructions, I realized what I signed up for. I actually phoned them up and I said, there's been a mistake. I didn't sign up for this. I want a refund. And they wouldn't give me a refund. They did what I know to be a classic reframe and said, well, come to the training. If you don't get massive value, yada, 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 we'll give you a refund. So I only went for the week to sit through it all and get my money back, because it's a couple of grand. And my financial circumstances had pretty much changed overnight. So suddenly that money was really important to me. And so I went with a view of getting a refund, got halfway through, really angry that they've made me waste a week of my time. Day number 3, thereabouts, I decided, look, I'm going to play full out, because if I don't, they're not going to give me a refund. They'll just say you just sat at the back sulking, which is what I did for the first 3 days. And so I decided to just do what they said and play full out. And the rest, as they say, is history. I went back the month later to become a master practitioner in NLP and hypnosis and timeline therapy. And the following year, I did my NLP trainers training and timeline therapy trainers training in May 2001. And also the following year did my hypnosis trainers training. And over the years, I've added a ton of different modalities to that. Things like EFT, DNA theta healing, emo trance, energetic NLP, past life regression, future life progression, soul plan reading, tarot, archetypal profiling, you name it, I've probably done it. I'm qualified in about 20 different modalities at this point. Number one, I was just really excited about personal development in terms of how much it had changed my life. But number two, I realized that one size didn't fit all. So I wanted to have some flexibility and agility in what I could offer to my clients. Also, the photo reading, stuff changed my life, because in my 20s, I was diagnosed with what was thought to be early onset Alzheimer's, and the photo reading turned that around for me. And also in 2003, became a management consultant and Prince 2 project manager. So working in central and local government, designing and delivering change management programs, leadership development programs, executive coaching, and all that sort of stuff. And went from, terrified of public speaking to the picture you can see there, the little pink dot on the screen is me. And now no longer am I terrified of it. I absolutely love it. And the problem is not getting me to talk, it's getting me to shut up. Somebody says, too funny, great story. It's totally true. David will tell you I was a bloody nuisance. I just sat at the back moaning the whole time, and I put my hand up every 5 minutes, and the assistants at the back will be like, oh god, here she goes again. Because then a few months later, I went from being a pain in their side to working for them and running the room and kind of being one of their trainers. But it's a totally true story. It makes me laugh now, and I'm actually really pleased that I went into it like that, because I wasn't already, you know, happy clappy evangelical. My eyes were really open. I was actually looking for flaws and didn't find and didn't and somebody says, and he recommended me to you. Oh, cool. Are we talking about David? I think we're talking about David. That is fantastic. That's wonderful. Do thank him. Yes. I said yes. Brilliant. And for me, also, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about personal development is in September 2000, I actually seriously sat down and considered and looked at all the ways I was going to commit suicide. And so to go from that in September 2000 to October 2000, like, whoa, life is good. And the following year, I became a Samaritan's volunteer. So I was one of the people answering the phones and answering the door, because the centre in Watford has a visitor centre, so people can come in. To go from contemplating suicide to being a Samaritan just a few months later, that for me is the power of personal development, which is why I'm, to this day, 18 and a half years later at this point, so passionate about it. One of the things I also have been doing since, 2002 now, is writing for newspapers and magazines. So anything about emotional health and well-being. I had a kind of a problem page for Spirit and Destiny magazine for about 7 years. Was also kind of a media expert for Psychology's magazine. So, you know, when they want people to do radio interviews and all that sort of stuff, I do that. And, you know, I'm passionate about finding ways to spread information about how to change your mindset and your emotional health and well-being and kind of mental health awareness. And the first book that I ever co-authored, it was like a gift, because I didn't make up the title. It's called Stories of Transformation. For those of you who are into personal development, you might have heard of Tony Robbins. If you're into photo reading, Paul Sheely is the creator of photo reading. The late Dr. Wayne Dyer also did a story for the book. Chun-Yi Lin, the creator of Spring Forest Qigong. Brian Tracy, who is someone I've admired for many years. And so we all wrote a chapter in the book about how we changed and transformed our lives. And there's also now, you know, more recently in the last 5-6 years, have kind of blended in the neuro success piece into that as well, which is combining key principles from neuroscience and looking at how that underpins personal development and human potential, and how you can then harness the power of neuroscience and personal development for even greater insight and success, so that things work, they stick, they last. And what's really important for me is that you're working with the mind and the brain in the way that it works, rather than working against it. Because, you know, some of the kind of techniques, they're great, and they're sometimes counterintuitive to the way that the mind and brain works. And that's why people find they've got a resistance and they're not able to implement. And so looking at the kind of the neuroscience that underpins that has just kind of made it easier to have all of that slot into place. So that's a little bit about me and why I'm here, and how I came to be doing what I'm doing. So next exercise, just to get the ball rolling for those of you who are joining us for the 10-part series. This one is about money genealogy. And of course, after this, you know, these are the questions. If you're watching this as a replay, hit the pause button by all means. For those of you who are live, you might want to come back to this one and mull it over in a bit more detail. But first question is, where did you pick up your thoughts, beliefs, and ideas around money? And again, you might just want to, I'll say it again, and you might, if it's convenient, if you're driving or something, don't do it. But if it's convenient, you might want to close your eyes, and I'm going to say the question again and notice what comes to mind. So where did you pick up your thoughts, beliefs, and ideas about money? And one I might even throw into that, are they yours or someone else's? I just noticed the answer to that as well. Also, what are your family and relatives like with money? And just notice that. And you might not know your whole family thread, but you can look at the immediate family circle and, you know, cousins once removed, aunts, great aunts, uncles, that sort of thing. And what are your family and relatives like with money? Because that can sometimes, not always, but sometimes, you know, almost imprint and inform how you are. And I've got one friend, for example, and actually I remember this one distinctly. I've got goosebumps as I think about it now. We did a breakthrough session around this, and she's like, oh my God. And we did a past life regression. And she said, in the past life regression, I saw, hang on, I think it was every 3 generations. So there'd be wealthy, wealthy, wealthy. Somebody would, that next generation that comes in at that point, lose it all. And then wealthy, wealthy, wealthy. And then the next generation that comes in at that point, lose it all. And she says, actually, as she looked back at what she knew of her family tree, and sure enough, she came from a very wealthy family. And then there was like a rogue, and he basically gambled the pile away. When I say the pile, I mean the money and the country manor. Lost it in a gambling game. Then she came along. She was the 3rd generation, and she'd had a thing. She had a big property portfolio, owned a lot of properties in really nice areas in London, and then was with a partner, in terms of business partner. And basically he swindled her out of it and left her with a load of debt. And so she lost it all and had nothing then to pass on to her nieces and nephews. And it was really interesting. She said that has been the pattern in our family. And I've got a friend actually who I don't know if she's worked it out in terms of the generation, but she comes from a wealthy family. But by the time her parents and grandparents came, they'd lost it all. So it's really quite interesting sometimes. If you do know a little bit about your genealogy, you can kind of see how it plays out. And so that's the question. Do you know anything about your genealogical or your ancestral line? If you do, that's great. If you don't worry about it. My client didn't, but in the past life regression piece, that's what she saw. And then when she went and thought about it, she's like, oh my God, that's actually true. So it can be interesting to look at it from that perspective. And I'd say you want to write these things down, write down kind of where you picked up your beliefs, write down what you know about your relatives. Write down what you know about your ancestry and about your genealogy, and then look at what you've written and circle the kind of ideas and thoughts and beliefs that might most hold you back. So, for example, one that I think if you grew up in the era that I grew up in, that some of the sayings: robbing Peter to pay Paul, making ends meet, bearing up, making do, getting by. They all sound like very innocent statements, but when you hear those enough and you grow up around those statements, they kind of potentially, not always, but potentially they can get into your psyche and you don't even really know they're there. And so just be thinking about those, and then you're looking at everything you've written. Is there a pattern? Do you see, oh my God, like with the client saying, oh my God, it's every 3rd generation. Somehow it gets lost, they lose it, or it gets taken away. That was a definite pattern. It might be that one side of the family is very good, the other side, so the haves and the have-nots. And then if you happen to be on the have-not side, that in and of itself can bring its whole range of challenges. And so really kind of thinking about this one again as a starting point, because that's going to inform some of the work that we're doing with the limiting beliefs, the work that we're doing with the negative emotions, the work that we're doing with cutting the energetic ties. And also you guys who have done Huna and Access will know there's also, we can do it content free as well. But it's just, if you want to put anything specifically into the mix, it's useful to kind of have that background. Someone says, so guest 130 says, since great grandparents lost money in the 1930s depression, it seems to have been a sense that there is not enough and there's always worry about money. Somebody else says, my brother is my payee. So yeah, very interesting. And that whole thing, that belief, there's not enough, that feeling of worry. Oh, one of the words that are coming to my head now, you could be the one who goes, okay, it's been the pattern. It's been that way since the 1930s, maybe even before that. And that pattern stops here. So it kind of stops now, and then you put something different and something else out into your future timeline. And when we do the stuff around the future life progression, the premise and the idea can be, for those who are willing and open to receiving the energy, they can now come into a timeline that is different, that doesn't carry all of the old ancestry. That's exactly it. Time to break the pattern. That's the one. It's like, it stops here. You know, in business, when somebody who runs a company or who's in charge of a team, they say the buck stops here. It's like the pattern stops here, and you clear it for yourself. And we're not necessarily doing it in this program, but there's one that I do with my clients is kind of genealogical constellations is what I call it. And one of the things we're often doing is we're going back and not just changing things for the person that I'm working with, but for those again, and there's a process that we use to figure out who's in, who's out, but you go back and you change the back catalogue as well. So it's a really interesting one. But when you look at the pattern, a little bit of exploration, and quite frankly, you don't even need to know that much about your genealogy. For example, I live in the UK. I'm Caribbean, so you'd say Afro-Caribbean, and somebody who's of African descent wouldn't classify themselves as Caribbean. But at the end of the day, I came into the world a year or two shy of me not being able to be in a particular place, drink from that fountain. And I'm sure if I really did have good ancestry, I will be a descendant of slaves. But even if I don't identify as a slave, even if my heritage isn't African, the fact that I'm Black, the fact that I came into the world at a time where Martin Luther King was striving to just be able to sit at the same counter and order a cup of coffee, it potentially also means that I carry some of that and I identify with that. And I remember watching Alvin Haley's Roots when I was at school. It was painful for me because in a way, I almost felt like I had lived some of that, which doesn't make sense as like a 10 or 12-year-old, whatever I was. But it's not too far a stretch of the imagination that someone like me, of my generation and my background, would identify with slavery, would identify with poverty, would identify with not being allowed to have your own stuff, would identify with being at the beck and call of someone else. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. And I actually think a lot of stuff gets carried through society, and it almost gets imprinted on. So it's all of that sort of stuff that we will kind of be looking at. I said, I remember Roots. It was painful to watch, even though it's not my heritage. Seriously, I just, to this day, when some of those new movies, 12 Years a Slave and all that, I was like, I don't really think I want to see that, because I'm still reeling from Roots. You know, it was painful stuff. And all of that can kind of get into this thing that I call the money genealogy, even if consciously it's not got that much to do with you, really. Often it kind of imprints almost into the psyche and into the DNA and into the fiber of our being. So we'll be exploring that one as well. So that's one to kind of look at. Another one that I think is really interesting, we're going to do some dowsing. When we cut the old energetic ties, we're going to do some dowsing. We're going to do some past life readings. And for those of you who are not familiar with the dowsing, we use the dowsing rods. These are always really great fun. Some of you would have seen these in action. I better sit back because it'll probably smack the camera off. So these are the rods. I always calibrate my rods. So I say, okay, give me a very clear signal for yes. And it spins in a particular direction. That's my signal for yes. That's great. Thank you very much. Give me a clear signal for no. And it goes in the other direction. And then what I'm saying with regards to this, I might be asking questions on behalf of an individual, or I might be asking questions on behalf of a group. So with your permission, if it's okay, I'll ask a question, let's say on behalf of the group. So let me just kind of say, okay, with regards to the group that are here, both in person and that will be joining us energetically in the future, is there anything that needs to be done with regards to old ancestral ties and connection? Okay, so that's my signal for yes. So that's, you know, one of the things that we'll be doing is that, because you can use it as a really great diagnostic. Let's just say, for example, we were going to be doing an energy clearing. We're saying, okay, how many generations or how many ancestral lines do we need to go back? And then we could be saying, you know, is it kind of 1? Nope. Right. Is it 2? Nope. Definitely not. Is it 15? Nope. Have we gone too far with 15? Yes. And so, you know, we'll be kind of narrowing it down that way. So we'll be using the dowsing rods for a bit of remote group diagnostic. They're always fun. So that's one of the things we'll be doing in terms of modalities that are included. We're going to do some guided processes and bespoke processes, and I say bespoke because it's partly going to be driven by the group. So in the way you guys are putting your comments in here when we're doing the live webinars, we'll be putting those comments in, and I'm going to be using those comments and feeding them forwards into the processes that we're doing, into the clearings that we're doing. So we're going to do the soul of money karmic release because I just love that process. We're going to do the access consciousness and belief change sessions because they're just a powerhouse in and of themselves. We're going to do the Huna and Ho'oponopono cord cutting, and we're going to do the soul blueprint. We're going to do the money DNA realignment, and I'm sure some other stuff will come up as we go through. Somebody else, guest 120, says yes, back in the 17 and 1800s, farm workers, so probably no money in the winter, then factory workers, mostly hand-to-mouth existence. This generation has more money, but it is no one is wealthy, just comfortable. And again, that is really interesting to know. It's almost like the word that comes to mind if I was summarizing that, it was like feast or famine. And so if there's a belief, a judgment, a limitation, the energy that travels along that line that you're describing, again, you want to clear that for yourself so you don't continue to live it. And also for those who are willing, send the energy, you know, out in their direction as well. So that's exactly cool. And I say cool because in my mind, this is the kind of feedback we were going to get. But I wasn't sure if that would, you know, I wasn't sure if that would be the case. It's like, yes, so that's great because it lets me know that I'm on the right track with, you know, what I was thinking people would remember and come up and identify with. So that is fantastic. Thank you so much for all of the shares. That is wonderful. We're also going to be this just for those of you who hear me talk about Huna, if you maybe haven't interacted with things I've done before, this is one of the Huna symbols. There are 36 of them. I love Huna. It's one of my favorite modalities. It's right up there. And so we're going to be doing some Huna symbol work. We're going to be doing some chakra clearing and rebalancing, and doing the Huna sessions as part of this as well. And so for those of you who have been on the teleseminars or the webinars, or been, let's say, because I was doing Huna on the photo reading trainings, and oftentimes people on the trainings, I turn the lights off, people got their eyes closed, or if you're on a teleseminar, you've got no idea what I'm doing anyway. And so when you hear me doing the what I'm doing is I'm drawing the symbol on the breath. So with this one, so so you draw the symbol on the breath, and then you deliver it on the breath. So that's what one of the symbols looks like. And so we'll be doing the Huna energy clearings as part of this as well, because it's just so powerful. It really is just wonderful. And I've had clients, you know, as far afield as Australia, where I'll be sat at home if we're doing a breakthrough process and we're in the middle of it, you know, I've got their permission to work with them and do stuff remotely. And there'll be times I'm thinking of someone on there in my mind, and I think of them 3 or 4 times. I'm like, I think I'll just send them some Huna. So I'm sat at home. They've got no idea what I'm doing. They'll email me and go, did you do some Huna today? They'll feel it. They're in Australia. I'm in Watford in the UK. So, you know, it's so cool. So we're going to be doing some Huna clearings as well throughout the program. And with your permission, we'll also, you know, I started with the people who signed up over the weekend. I started the intention setting, and it's really lovely. Somebody actually sent me an email. She signed up. She says, I made a decision to sign up yesterday. Signed up before my interview. I got the job, and it's a better contract, more money. So she said, I think it's working already. And that's really lovely. And I said, actually, funny you should say that, because a few days before, once I'd pre-launched, put the program out for pre-launch, I then started to set the intention about how the energy is going to roll for people. So that's cool. We're also going to do some of the access consciousness work, the right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 pod, pop, shorts, boys and beyonds, for those of you who've come across it. And so these are the access consciousness creators. That's Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here. Dane is the one wearing the leather jacket with the yellow chair, and Gary Douglas is the original creator and founder, and Dr. Dane here is the co-creator. So we're going to put some of the access consciousness in there as well. And we're also going to do the kind of the money oracle card deck readings. So the cards are not yet in physical form. So these are the coaching cards. So they're going to look like this. So with the coaching cards, they're all wrong way, different images on all of the cards. And thank you for the person who kind of we immediately looked and go, we need bigger writing. So we've got much bigger writing on version 2. Yeah, so those are the cards. And so the cards, I have them at the moment, they're on a deck on my PC, because I haven't sent them to the printers yet. I'm still incubating on those, but we'll do some readings with those to finish off tonight. And so if you'd like a reading, I will be doing it slightly differently. I'll either pull it up in terms of the slide deck that I've got on my PC. I've also preloaded the slides into the webinar platform, so I'll just see which one of those is going to work best. I suspect pulling it up in the design deck, and then what I did when I did the Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago, I just closed my eyes and just used the page up, page down to scroll, and then just stopped and picked one. So it's like doing the random pick. For that, so we'll do that. So that's going to be part of the program as well. If people would like readings, we'll do that. Somebody says letting them hatch, absolutely. So that's that. So in terms of the program itself, for those of you who looked at the page, there are 4 different packages. Package number 1 is the 10-part program. Package number 2 is the 10-part program plus the 28-day e-coaching program if you haven't done it. And if you have done it and you go for that package, we'll do some one-to-one coaching around, a couple of coaching sessions around that instead. Package number 3 is the 10-part series, the 28-day e-coaching program, and the money breakthrough session, which is basically 6 sessions. So some people have done it as a full 1-day session, others have done 6 1-hour sessions, others have split it into blocks of 2 or 3 hours in terms of the coaching. And then the 4th option, because I know some people just like to get stuff done, there's going to be a 1-day video webinar training where I condense down the 10-part series, and we do it as a video webinar, as a 1-day workshop. So if you wanted to have a look at those, it's www.bit.ly/money vibration. And so you can see an overview of the packages there. And also for those of you who are live, if you did want to join us, what I have done is I've set up 15% off package 2 and package number 3, not package number 1. I think £97 is a very good launch price. And actually, just to also pre-frame that with the prices you can see on the screen, I purposely left them small because they're going to be changing. So if you're listening to this in a couple of weeks time, it will not be the prices you see on the screen, but those are the launch prices that are up at the moment. So package 1 is £97, and that's a 10-part 10 module series. Package 2 at the moment is 247. Package 3 is 857. And if you just think, I don't want to do the modules, I just want to do the whole thing, then at the moment the workshop is 87. But as I said, I've left them small because they're going to be changing, but you'll find them on that particular page if you wanted any more information. And also, if you did want to get the 15% off, and I'm going to leave that open for the next kind of 24 or so hours, because I know there are a few people who signed up but can't make the live session. When you go to the it says Kyvio on the top. When you go to that page, the bit.ly money vibration, click on the yellow button. It will take you through to the Eventbrite page, and that's where you use the code. Let me type the code in. So the code is WEB15, so WEB15. And the way you do it is you go to the bottom of the screen, you click enter promo code, type in WEB15, press activate, and then what you'll notice is it changes all the prices that it's applied it to. And then you just put down put 1 if you want to buy 1 package. You can buy one for a friend if you like, of course. And then what it will do, it will make the alteration. So that's if you wanted to join us for the program. If you've got any questions or queries, kind of send me a message or email me. Couple more exercises, just a few things for you to think about. And as I said, we're not going to spend a load of time getting into them today, but you can go back and watch this recording. And this one I've called money separation, because I've noticed that many people do suffer from this. Is how much is your self-worth bound up with what is in your bank account, is the first question. Number 2, if things aren't going well financially, do you deem yourself to be a failure? Number 3, If you've answered yes to any of the above, when did you decide that your net worth was equal to your self-worth? And the answer to that question, for those of you doing the 10-part program, is going to be important, because we want to go back and clear that. So you might have just said, I've always felt that way, or when such and such an event happened, it might have been a significant emotional event, for example. And then thinking, what is your new decision about your identity such that it remains intact regardless of what's in your bank account? Because when you believe that you are fabulous, it's not predicated on, oh, I was fabulous yesterday when I bit of money and now I've paid those bills, I'm not fabulous anymore. It's no longer that sort of up and down. It's more constant. And we come back to my rationale for this program, which is about feeling good. And if there are things that have made the two inextricably linked, you want to know what those things are so you can separate those out. So just a few more for you to kind of, think about and ponder on. And if you're doing the program, then by all means be writing this stuff down so that you can kind of share it in the webinars. You can also email me if you wanted to in advance, and then I'm going to build some of the processes around that, because some of the things are set, I kind of, yeah, we're doing that, yeah, we're doing that, yeah, we're doing that. And then some of them are a bit more fluid, because I want to see what's coming back so that I build the processes around those issues, if that makes sense. So that's one to think about. Another is money and receiving. So how good are you at receiving compliments? How good are you at receiving unexpected gifts? So birthdays and Christmas, most people got that down pat. It's your birthday, it's Christmas, thank you very much. Unexpected gifts, however, is a slightly different kettle of fish. How do you respond when somebody gives you an unexpected gift? So for example, the last couple of membership group workshops I've run, people have turned up with flowers, gifts. One of the gifts I've actually got from Annika about the magic, it's hanging right there. This is one of the gifts from the lovely Alexa. It's unicorn snow globe. I have just some. This is a lovely gift from the fabulous Sunny Olmo. This is real gold, genuine gold from Alaska. Oh, actually, this is another cool one. Love this. It's my unicorn ring holder. So, I want on this one here, Archangel Michael's like, remember me. So this is one from the lovely Kate. It's there. She has a company called Angeli Jewelry, and she does archangel pendants. This is Archangel Michael. That was a lovely gift. And so a lot of the times I'm receiving unexpected gifts. So when you walk into a place, you meet someone, they give you a gift. It might even be you're at a networking event or something, and somebody says, oh my gosh, I've got that book, you have it, or I've got this, or they give you a thought, they give you an idea, they give you a contact. Really notice how you react, because that's going to tell you a lot about your receiving channels. Also, how good are you at receiving money or being paid for your services? Is it a joyful exchange? Do you feel guilty about it? Do you feel embarrassed about it? Do you go, oh, my baby's not charging enough, I'm charging. So if you've got that going on, that will also give you a bit of information about your receiving channels and any work that you want to do there. And I would just say, start with that whole thing of asking yourself, are you open to receiving? If so, affirm that to yourself, and also practice two very simple words: thank you. If somebody gives you a gift, thank you. If you can't think of anything else to say, rather than go, oh no, I shouldn't, oh no, I don't know, just practice smiling and saying thank you. And say that until you get comfortable with receiving. And then when you're in that place and that space, it can all go from there. So that's also just kind of one to think about, because many people are really good at giving, not necessarily good at receiving. And that, when it goes too much the other way, you can fall into the whole piece around martyrdom. And so you want to watch that one. And again, kind of, let me know kind of what those, let me just have a quick look in the Q&A. What date is the webinar on? That hasn't been decided yet. So once I have the first batch of people booked on, so the launch, we did the pre-launch via the e-newsletter last weekend. The launch is now on until the end of this month. And then once people are booked on, I'll be going to the people who are booked on the webinar, and they will choose the date. So at the moment, there isn't a date. And the reason I'm going to get them to choose a date, not everybody wants to do things live. So some people just like, I don't care. Like I'm running a Huna workshop, for example. There are people who are going to be coming to the 1-day event. Other people are going to be doing the 1-day webinar. And I've had a couple of people doing the webinar. They're not that fussed about being on it live. They'll just get the recording. But for people who want to be on there live, what I'll do once the launch is over is I'll set up an online calendar. I'll put in a series of dates, and then people will then, tick all of the dates they can do. And fingers crossed, it worked with the Huna, thank God, for both of the Huna workshops. So I trust it will work again for this one. There'll be a date that shows itself that everybody can do, and that is when the date will be. So that is that. So I'm just going to go back to the chat. Missed it. Can the options please be put on the slide with one of the options? Missed it due to the very small print on the phone. Managed to watch on the laptop. And I would definitely say, let me put the link in again. Let me copy that link. So to see the options, if it's like squishy on the phone, I'm going to put the link into the chat again. So you'll see them all there. And the reason I didn't make it big print is because I know somebody might be watching this in 6 months' time and go, it says £97 and it's now £197. I'll be like, well, that's because it was the launch. So I'm just saving myself a bit of aggro, and I'm hoping people can't see it too closely so they then can't come back and complain, even though I'm clearly saying that's the launch price. It will be different if you're watching it after the launch. But check out the link. It's in the chat. Cool. Right. Okay, what's next before we wrap up? Money meditation. Yes, this will be a fun one to, not now, but this will be a fun one to do. You sit in stillness. You allow yourself to physically and mentally relax, and noticing the in-breath, noticing the out-breath. You might want to talk yourself through a guided meditation where you're relaxing the forehead and the jaw and the chin and the shoulders and the arms, and do a guided process. We will do it as a proper meditation on the program, which I just don't want to keep you here all night. And then you bring to mind a current issue or challenge with money, and from that meditative place and space, you're asking yourself, what can I do to solve or help resolve this now? And then just sit or lie down wherever you happen to be. And this is where I say notice what you notice. Notice any thoughts. Notice any feelings. Notice physical sensations. Notice anything you hear. Notice any pictures, any visuals, any ideas, any of what I call those light bulb aha moments that come to mind. And it may be that you notice something straight away, or it may be that over the next couple of hours, next couple of days, even the next couple of weeks or months, things will come up. Ideas, opportunities, things will present themselves, and you'll be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so just be open and notice those things, because what you want to do is, as soon as you then get an idea, it's like, oh my God, yeah, that is amazing, that's fantastic, wow. And sometimes you even think, where did that idea come from? It almost like seems it comes out of the blue, but then you might remember that you did a meditation around it, and that you are asking for that data, you are asking for that information, and that's where it came from. But it really is a powerful one. And one of the things I would say is let go of having to have something come straight away, because if you're not already in regular rapport with your inner mind and your higher self, etc., it may be that your mind is kind of asleep. And so, this is one of the cards from my kind of coaching deck is notice what you notice. And this will be my instruction. Don't put pressure on yourself to have to solve it and resolve it and come up with everything now, but just notice what you notice. And when you put yourself into that place and that space, it starts to then open up. And that is where you'll find that you're in that wonderful, beautiful, creative space. So that's what I would say kind of with regards to that one. So let me see. Oh, hang on. There's a private message to start a one-to-one chat. Okay, right. Okay, there's nothing written in there. That's cool. I'm just checking because the little light was on. And let me just check the chat and just see if there's anything else in there that I need to be aware of. I think we are good. Winnie says, always amazing images you use. Why, thank you, Winnie. I do try. Glad you like them. And actually, it's gonna be you seriously. When I created the coaching deck, and you might know the story about the day and a half thingy. If not, we'll talk about it. But when I created this deck, it probably took me longer to curate the pictures than it did to write the words. I was like, no. And you know it when you'll see it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's perfect. A few of them were easy, like when I did the wow card, that one was kind of it's easy. I've already used it for the magic and gratitude thing. But the images, I spent a fair bit of time, so I'm really glad you like them. 1 day webinar is the same as 10 separate sessions. Yes, it will be. It will be, and of course there's going to be some leeway in it, because it's then going to depend on the people who are there. So in the same way, the 10 sessions are going to be a little bit more fluid in certain places, because it's going to be based on what the group are coming back to me with. The webinar will be, so it might be there are things in the webinar that are different to the things in the 10-part series, because the group is different, if that makes sense. But the core things will be the same, with room for flexibility in terms of who's there, etc. Cool. So we want to do some money oracle tarot card readings. I'm just going to go through the questions that I'd had via email and just make sure I've answered all of those. So 3 packages. So I've talked about 3 packages. Somebody asked about those. I did talk about that. The Sky News thing, I didn't get a chance to talk about that. So what I'm going to do, but I did, I went and I pulled up the link that was with the lovely Lisa, who did the because she was desperate for money, and within the first day of doing the first exercise of the magic program, she not only raised thousands of pounds, but was on Sky News. So that's that. So that's that one. Oh yeah, sorry, I was thinking, what's P3? I'm sorry, my own writing. So what is the session? That means package 3. Duh. What is the session for package 3? How long is it? And do you have to be in the UK? So in terms of package 3, the breakthrough session is 6 hours. So some people have done it in 1 day. Some have broken it into 6 1-hour sessions. Some have done 3 2-hour sessions, so 2, 4, 6. Some people have done 2 half-day sessions, so 3 hours, have a break, do 3 hours. And the sessions, I do them by telephone or Skype, so it's not geographic. What's that one? Do you have to do both programs 28-day plus, dear? So I've talked about how it's different in the beginning. No, it's kind of either or. The way I see this, it's a bit like the yin and the yang. They're going to complement each other. And I was saying in the beginning, one of them is very kind of practical and pragmatic, and this one is more spiritual and esoteric. So for me, the two are going to fit like that. But you can also do them as standalone programs. So it can be either or. But the reason I put the second package together is if you wanted to do both. Somebody says, still confused, the first package is a webinar with 10 parts. Where is the e-coaching program information? The e-coaching program information is on a whole different site, because that's a different... I'll pull up the what's going to be the quickest way. I'll pull up the link. If I don't pull it up tonight, I will pull it up and email it to you. But the e-coaching program is a different one. What is the better way to motivate? Okay, so the e-coaching program is a different program to this one. So every day for 28 days, you receive an email with a PDF coaching exercise, or if people want to, there's an online portal where all of the exercises are listed. So there are 2 ways that you can do it, but it's a separate program to this. What I will do, maybe I know where I have got the links somewhere, but I'll maybe let that document open in the background, because it's a monster of a document where I keep all my links. And so I'll put the link in, but that's a different, it's not, oh, hold on there. Let me just do this for 1 second, just to answer that question and put it in and just do that. the money breakthrough program.eventbrite.com. That is the one I'm looking for. So, and actually, if you sort of scroll down, there are elements of it, but I've just put the link in. So the breakthrough is 1-to-1. Yes, you are correct. So the 10-part series, the one that we're talking about now, Raising the Money Vibration, that is MP3s, live video webinars, etc. 28-day e-coaching program is you get an email for 28 days, or you go to the online web portal where all of the exercises are listed and online if you kind of don't want to do the email thing. But the breakthrough session is 1-to-1. So there's no group, there's no one else. It's just me, you, and Skype or the phone, depending on how you wanted to work it. I've done a couple of them using this video webinar platform, but you know, most people have got Skype, you know, it's easy. But yeah, so those are 1-to-1. So if you've got any other questions, post them in while we're in Q&A mode. Let me just make sure. Oh yeah, can I book the breakthrough coaching sessions on their own? You can. And actually, that'd be really nice for me, because if the sessions are £150 an hour, so if you wanted to do 6, that is it's £900. So you can do them on their own, but it'll be £900, or you can do them as a package, and including this program, and it's a completely different price. But yes, you can do them on their own as £150 an hour, or $728, and you get this and the 10-part program, etc. What am I covering at the Huna workshop, and can you have a session? That's a kind of that's a whole different ball game. So the Huna workshop is a kind of a one-day kind of workshop. I don't know if I've got, let me just see if I've got the link. There's going to be so many links. What I might do, I might just do a link compendium at the end. Which document will that be in? Huna. Yeah. But we are going to do some elements of Huna on this workshop. Of course, the one-day Huna workshop is all about Huna in terms of the origins, the background, the history, you know, taking you through some processes, teaching you some processes you can do for yourself. With the program we're talking about here, it's going to be more experiential as opposed to, you know, breaking the processes down. But that's that. So that's all of those questions, and just make sure I've ticked them all. We're good. Yeah, I've covered all of those. So if you've got any further questions or queries, drop them into the Q&A. Right, so I think what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to do both, maybe. Go to the record, move that out of the way. What I'm going to do is, what should happen now is seamlessly, the card should appear on the screen. Cool. But what I am going to do, I think it's going to be easier for me to open them up on the design deck, because it's way easier to scroll. Money breakthrough cards, that's the one I want. So let's give them a moment. Right, so I'm going to be reading for, let's see. So Winnie. So I'm just waiting for that to open, so I can do a scroll. But then, so I've got them up on cards. So once I pull the card, you won't be able to see what I've pulled, because they're all on my screen. But once I've pulled a card, what I'm going to then do, I can show you the card on screen, which I couldn't do when I did the Facebook Live. So if I do that, right, so the first, now what I've got in this deck, however, is some of the holding cards, like how to use the deck and next steps. So hopefully if I pick those, I just pull again. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm looking at the cards on my screen, so I'm going to close my eyes. Let me just make sure we're moving. Yeah, so I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to use the page up and page down key. So when I'm doing the Tarot Tuesday, because I do Tarot Tuesday, I do free tarot readings for everyone in my membership group. And so the way I do the readings for Tarot Tuesday is I have the cards facing away from me, and I will pick a card, and then so whoever I'm reading for sees it before I do, and then I turn it over. I can't do that with the Money Breakthrough Oracle cards yet, because I haven't got the physical deck, but I have got them on my screen. So I'm going to do page up and page down, which is shuffling through them, get a sense to stop, and then I will see what the card is, and then I'll find it on the deck. Right, the finding on the deck will be tricky because there's like 82 of them. But right, so here we go. So page up, page down. So this is for Winnie first of all. Go with that one. Oh, okay. So money forgiveness. So I'm going to tell you what it says and I'll see if I can quickly find it in the deck. So money forgiveness, it says, look back on situations where you made mistakes with money and ask, what did you learn? Question mark. And say to money, I forgive you. Do you forgive me? Cut the old energetic ties and start afresh. So let me see if I can quickly find it on the, go back a little bit in multitasking. Oh, actually, that might help. What number is this? This is number 30. And that would then give me a sense of roughly where to start looking. Show me the navigator, number 30. And if it's lined up, then see if my master plan will work. Yes, we are cooking with gas. So this is the card. So with regards to this, Winnie, I will be saying, just have a look. Winnie says, thank you, makes sense. Cool. So I'm going to say, have a look back at situations. You might even want to do a bit of journaling, a bit of automatic writing around it, and just write all those situations down. You know me, I do like a bit of cauldron action as well. So you might, when you've written them all down, you might want to do some sort of, cauldron thing with them as well. But it's that whole thing where you're starting the process of the dialogue with money. And then once you've kind of said what needs to be said, and we'll go into this more in the kind of program, I've written this one down that we'll come back to this, is you then cut the old energetic ties. So in the program, we'll do that with the Ho'oponopono, and we'll do that with the Huna. We'll also be bringing in the Avaiku, which is the Huna guides, to do some work around that as well. So for you, so I'm just going to write down what's said. Because the Avaiku, like they have got a bit of a sender, you're like, yeah, baby. So that's that. So that's Winnie. We're gonna then do guest 130. So let me go back to the deck and move away from this one first of all. Just get well away from it, make sure I'm nowhere near it, and then we're going to start that process again. At number 17, are we going up or down? We're going 17 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, I really like this one. So this one is called Money Date Night. And it says, place paper money on the table in front of you as though you and money are out on a date. Hang on, before I start gassing, let me write this down. So Money Date Night, so I can keep track if people are asking. So this is for guest 130. So place money in front of you on a table as though you and money are out on a date. Imagine being on the most incredible date ever. Look out into the future and see yourself creating everything you desire with money and so much more. So let me pull that one up, go back to the deck, and we're going to be number 30. That's right. Sorry, I've got to pull the navigator up. And Money Date Night should be right about now. Right, so this is the card that I'm looking at. So the premise with this one is, hang on. Oh. So the premise with this one, it depends where you are. So if you are in the United States of America, you're going to kind of have your dollars. If you're in the United Kingdom, you're going to maybe, I'd say, go for the highest denomination you can. You might have a 50, but you might have a tenner to hand. What's this one? Oh, this is a $50 million from the Bank of Zimbabwe. So depending on what your currency is. Thank you so much. I need Aussie dollars. Brilliant. So let's do that. Cool. So get your Aussie dollars. So for now, let's just say you had to have some US dollars. You would place the money in front of you. You're sitting at a table, and you and money you're just having the best day ever. And you are just kind of talking about what you're going to do, and you're getting your plans together, and you're getting excited about what you're going to create and the flow you're going to have, and you just have this wonderful dialogue with you and money, and just see where it flows and just see where it takes you. And it's seriously, when you really allow yourself to get into the exercise, and I said this is a variation on one that's in the 28-day e-coaching program. I says to people, go all out, flowers if you want, candles, whatever, but really you can bring this one to life in the most incredible of ways, and it's amazing what money will come back to you and say. So that's that one. We also had Annika. So let's go back to the deck. I want to get away from this one completely. Okay, so we want a card for Annika. Okay. All right. Oh, actually, this is totally you. Very kind of, so number 3. So this card is money purpose. And it says, what do you want money for? ? List everything that comes to mind. You then pick your top 5 and you ask, what is the purpose in having blank? And so what I mean by that is you might have written 10 things. Let's say one of the purposes in having of money is to change humanity, for example. So and if that's in your top 5, you then say, what is the purpose in kind of having money to change humanity? And what does it get for you? What does it allow you to do? So first part is do your list. Let me just pull this card up. What number is that one? Go back to where we were. Let's just pull it up as well. So you're going to kind of do your list, think about your money purpose, and don't evaluate it while you're doing the list. Just write the list. Once the list is done, that is when you then pick your top 5, and then with the top 5 you will, I think it's that one there, with the top 5 you will then go back and say, okay, what's the purpose in having this thing? What's the purpose in having, in helping humanity? What's the purpose in, and whatever the thing, the words are from your list, you slot that in. And it says, oh cool, guess 130 says they're going to have fun doing that with the date, for sure. And so this one is really asking you to look beyond the money, I guess is the way that I would put it, and ask, what is the purpose in that? What does it get for you? What does it allow you to do? And when it reveals those things to you, there are other ways that you can spin and use that information to give you more information about your motivations, about your drivers. Sometimes it even uncovers things that could be a little bit of a block and a barrier. So definitely this is a nice one to do, but do it intuitively, do the list, pick the top 5, and then start drilling down into the purpose and what does it get for you, what does it allow you to do, and that one can be really quite enlightening once you get into it. So we also had guest 709. So guest 709. All right, let's go back to the deck and get well away from it and start there, pretty much at the beginning. Right, make sure we're working. Apparently. Okay, so alrighty, we've got some miracle action. So this card is called Money Miracles, and this is for guest 709. So it says, do you believe in miracles? What defines a miracle for you? Think back to when something miraculous happened. What were your preceding thoughts, or what came before? And what were your preceding thoughts, actions, and emotions? And get into that state. So let me show you that card. So. Any minute now. It's towards the end of the end of the deck. Just got to wait for them to scroll through. And should be that one. Cool. So money miracles. So with regards to this one, what I'm saying here is when you kind of think about what defines a miracle for you, think back to the time something miraculous happened and then go, what was going on just before that? You know, what were my thoughts, what were my feelings, what were my actions, what was I doing? Because oftentimes you when you identify that state, you'll recognize it's very different from your state of stressful urgency. And then what you want to do when you identify the money miracle state where things just flowed, things just happened, things were just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What then happens with this one, which is really, really fantastic, is that you'll then go, oh my God, I'll get myself back into that state. And then you're in that place and that space where money miracles can continue to happen. So it's a really, really fun one to do. But when you know the state that you're in when things are really in flow, the more you replicate that, the more it starts to become your natural state of being, and the more you find yourself in the place and the space which then meets up with whatever your definition of a miracle is. Annika says, really nice card. Thank you for that, Marilyn. Much appreciated. You are more than welcome. And I think there was one more person in the chat that had said they wanted a reading. So let me just go there as well. Let me do that. I've just got to check. A bit of multitasking. So I think it was in the private. Was it somewhere? Or Q&A, sorry. Q&A. So that's Christopher. My brain is like, you are not doing another reading until you've had some water. Excuse me a moment. Alrighty. Right, Christopher. So actually, I'm going to go take myself to the bottom of the deck, so number 70, and start scrolling from there. A bit up and down action. Oh, actually, I can do that. Fast scroll. It's like I just keep my finger on it rather than page up, page down. I'm going to go for that. Ooh. Oh, this is just perfect based on what you were saying. Oh my God. You were talking about money management, all the rest of it. This is just too cool for school. Let me write it down. So I've got a note, just because sometimes people, what's my card again? Right, so accumulation it's called. So it says, get a lovely glass jar or container and use it to save £1 or $1 every week. You might also decide to save a particular denomination of coin, perhaps the shiny ones, and keep saving until the jar is full. So let me show you this one. Okay. Any minute now. That one. Ooh. There we go. And from what you were saying about the kind of the money management piece, I think this is absolutely perfect, because what this does is it starts, I don't really like the word control, but it just starts just making it more manageable. And it starts off small, you know, $1 or £1, a yen or a euro doesn't sound like that much. But actually, let me show you. Let me just get something for you. I've just started it again. Oh God, it's heavier than I thought. This is one of those big, you know, it's massive. And I don't know if you can see that clearly. I save shiny pound coins, but basically the denomination I save is 20p pieces. But also, if I get shiny pound coins, they go in here as well. I can't even give you a comparison. Let me put my water bottle. My water bottle is just basically bigger than the neck of this bottle, so this is massive. When it is full to capacity, it holds about 980 pounds. The very, very first time I filled this, I distinctly remember, I was saving up to get a Chanel handbag. And I just got to the point where it was full. I was so excited. I was just like majorly excited. And then a relative needed some money. I was like, oh God. And they asked me, and I was like, I really wanted to say I haven't got any, but I knew, I was like, okay, I've got 9. So they wanted to go on a secretarial course because they worked in a shoe shop. A job had come up that they wanted in the bank, but they didn't have the right qualifications, didn't have A levels and all that kind of stuff, but they'd seen a secretarial course. Could I help them with the money? So I paid for the secretarial course, which was about £300, £400. And that left me with not enough for the big Chanel handbag. So I got the little one, which I did a Facebook Live about the other day when Karl Lagerfeld passed away. And so I just, and my thing for this jar is, the reason I was going to get a Chanel handbag is when the bottle is full, I'm going to do with that what I please. I'm going to buy something that I've really wanted. I'm going to buy something that other people might say, oh, that's frivolous. Why would you spend £900 on a handbag? Well, actually, I didn't have to get a little one. But, you know, and that the person who I bought the course for, I think there was something ridiculous, like 45 other applicants. She got the job. So she worked in what was in Abbey National. It's now Santander. And from there, and now she's kind of a retail manager and travels the country troubleshooting their stores for Ralph Lauren. And so what started as, I'm going to help you with this little secret, I've got goosebumps, what started with giving her £400, whatever it was, to do the secretarial course, opened up doors that neither of us would have thought were possible. And now she's a high flyer and very much sought after. Prior to that, she was the manager at New Look in Oxford Street and used to, again, travel around the country, pulling their stores into shape, because she's got an eye for detail, an amazing eye for fashion. And all she needed was that little kind of, you know, head start to get things moving. So I distinctly remember the first time I filled the bottle, that's where the money went. I was a little bit disappointed at the time. I was like, oh, what is it? Because it took about a year to fill that blasted thing first time round. But this is really about that. But the more it accumulates, and my rule for myself was, when I first started doing it, the money can go in, but nothing is allowed to come out until it's full. So if you can invoke that as well, I think that would be a really good idea. And don't keep watching it every 5 minutes. You know, they talk about a watch pot. Just put the money in, put the money in, put the money in, put the money in, put the money in. I don't put notes in there because you wouldn't be able to get them back out again. But if you were using like a jar, a bigger jar with a top, then by all means you could put notes in there as well. But it's amazing how those coins can amount to £980. And of course, if I put all pound coins in there, there'll be a lot more, but it was a mix of 20 pence pieces and pounds. So that's what I mean by that one. And it will be really good for you to be, whatever you said about your brother or something being the steward and not being good with money, I think this card would be absolutely perfect for helping that, you know, helping change the dynamics around that. Let's see. Guest 709 says, very cool, thank you. You are more than welcome. I don't have a glass jar container that is big enough, but it start with anything. I've got a little one. Hang on, let me just see if it's in here in the other room. I think it's in here. Oh yeah. I found this one recently, and what it is, it's I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Can I make it light up? I'm not sure I can make it light up any more than it is, but it's not very big, but it's got a, hang on, wrong way. Oh yes, you can see it. It's got a display. So every time you put a coin into it, it adds up what's in there. So that doesn't look like very much. I've only just started. Hang on, wrong way. I've only just started, but it's £13.17, and it does, you know, I think, yeah, the lid does screw off. So you don't have to start massive. But just start. I think that's the key thing. Just start. And then what happens is, and this will be a whole different exercise, but what happens is that whole thing of saying, I haven't got any money. Oh my God, no. You can't say that anymore, because that is money. Even though it's not a massive amount of money, it's still money. And it starts to then just kind of impact, you know, on your psyche, if you want to put it that way. So, you know, really, really kind of play with that one, play with that idea of kind of how it rolls out. So that just gives you a little flavor, and we'll kind of get more into it as we go through, and we'll have a whole, one of the kind of modules will be around doing the readings. And so if you're joining us for the program, we'll kind of do the readings from that as well. We're going to a little bit more depth and a little bit more detail. We'll design some processes around those as well, so those will feed into the rest of the program. So that will be the way that kind of it goes. And what I'll probably do with these cards, what I can do is, easiest thing for me to do, so you can then pull them off and save them where you want to, is I'll put them on my transformations page. And I'll say I'll put them on the transformations page because it moves a lot more slowly than my own page. I will put them on the Marilyn Devonish page as well. Actually, let me just see. If you don't know what that page is, let me just see if I've got it as a link. Oh yes, I have. So I will put the link into the chat, and so I'll put them on that page. Not today, it's late now. Oh my god, it's 11:30. People, we've got to close. So I'll put them on the on my transformation page tomorrow, and so you can pull them off from there. You can save them from there. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a taster and a flavor of how they all work. Guest 130 says they're beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like them. And how do I add my name? I know it's you now because you mentioned Oz. I think it's when you logged in. I think if you registered anonymous, I think it picks up the name that maybe you put in when you log in. I don't know if you get an opportunity to type the name in kind of when you actually get into the webinar, but it might be pulling it from how you initially logged into the webinar. I think, might be wrong, but that's what it could be. So right, well, in terms of you know, this evening, let me just do that. So if there are any further questions or queries, by all means, kind of let me know. If you have any final questions, and if not, let us bring tonight to a close. If you have any final questions, if you have any final queries, drop them in to the chat or into the kind of Q&A, and I will do a final cycle back and look at those. For those of you who would like to join us for the program at the moment, and I say at the moment, if you're watching this in real time, these are the prices. They're going to be available to the end of this month. And then after that, if you're watching this as a replay in a year's time, the program will still be valid and you can take the modules, but these prices will not be what is on the screen. But if you wanted to, the promo code is WEB15. So package 2 is 247, it will be 209. Package 3 is 857. That's the one that includes the 28-day e-coaching program, the 10-part Raise Your Money Vibration program, and the 1-day one-to-one sessions, so 6 breakthrough sessions. That's 857. It's 728 if you wanted to use the code. And just to do the 10-part series is £97. And to book your place, go to www.bit.ly/money vibration. Use that page if the codes have expired. If you are booking while you're on this live teleseminar or within the next 24 hours so that people get a chance to watch the replay, then when you get to that page, the Kyvio page, you'll see what I mean. It will say Kyvio in the URL. Click on that yellow button and it will take you to the Eventbrite page, because that is where you can actually use the promo code. You can't use it on the Kyvio page. So hope that is clear. If it's, and I'll send an email tomorrow reiterating all of this as well. So that's that. And the final thing, a little bit of home play, just for those of you who are joining me for the 10-part series, start looking at your money beliefs, write down the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, create 2 columns, positive and negative, and then you're going to take the top 3 words and reshape those into belief sentences. I'm going to explain all of this in more detail when we do the program, but this one is a really good start if you don't know what your money beliefs are, and if you don't know about potentially of the limiting money beliefs and the ones that are most key and the most prevalent. This exercise is a really, really good one to do. So you might want to just come back to this recording and do this one as a bit of home play before we start the program. So you've got 2-3 weeks to, you know, get your head around this before we do the first module. And I just want to say thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And we've got people as far afield as Australia, America, Europe, and the UK. So it's wonderful to have a global group. Fabulous. Also, one of the questions that did pop in as a sidebar earlier on was asking about timings of the live events. I think I'm going to try and vary those a bit, because I want to be fair to Australia, I want to be fair to America, I want to be fair to Europe as well. So I might mix up the days a little bit. So we might do a couple of late evening sessions, we might do a kind of weekend sessions, and I want to just mix it up so that everybody gets a chance to be in a more friendly time zone. So we'll talk about that one as we go. And in terms of, you know, keeping in touch, most of my stuff on social media is / Marilyn Devonish, apart from Instagram, which is the Neuro Success Coach. So, you know, feel free to go to my various pages, click like. It really helps to move things up the agenda and news feeds if you drop some comments in as well. Also, feel free to share your feedback if you've enjoyed the webinar, even if you're not joining us for the program. But you know somebody who might, and other people who might benefit from this, then feel free to share a few words, share some feedback. That would really help as well. That would be wonderful. Let's just see. I'm just going to have a quick look and see with the final things. I'll try next time. I've been trying all sorts of things. No worries. That's fine. I know who you are. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Sleep well. See you soon. I really look forward to working with you. Always a pleasure. Somebody else, Guest 709 says, fabulous time, Marilyn. Thank you. That's brilliant. Sabina says, unfortunately, I've caught the last 5 minutes. Will there be a replay? Yes, it's being recorded. Winnie says, thank you as always for being so generous with your time and energy. Winnie, it's always a pleasure. And my God, if you have seen me talking about Winnie's miraculous vibrational bath salts, please, people, order them. They are just the most incredible thing. If you think you've kind of got something good with Epsom salts and Dead Sea salts, forget that. Winnie's bath salts are just freaking amazing. I cannot put into words how good they are. You can use them as bath salts. Let me just see if I've got them here actually. You can use them as bath salts, or, oh, here we go, winsworldtherapies.com / energy vibrational bathing salts. Please, people, check this out. They are like heaven. Oh my God, can't begin to tell you. So that's the wonderful Winnie. Thank you, Winnie. Wonderful to have you here. Will there be a recording, as I didn't join too late? Coral, yes, there will be. Do you have to have done the 28-day program recently? It's some time ago. I mean to do the webinar. No, this is a completely new program. I'm going to be using some of the exercises that are in it. So the exercises we've done today have been pulled from the 28-day eCoaching program. So we're going to use some of those things as our basis and starting point, and then we move off in a different direction. But you don't have to have done that before. It can be an either or, but I'm also, you know, putting it together in a way such that they complement each other. Looking forward to it. Brilliant. Clock change soon, so they'll be slightly easier. They do indeed. Coral says, thank you, thank you, thank you, Marilyn. You are more than welcome. So that was quite epic. But hopefully it gives you a flavor of where we're heading, what we're doing, how it's all going to be working. So yeah, let me have your feedback as well in terms of this. And also for those of you who are joining us, start thinking about what you most want to work on, what you want to clear. Some of it's obvious, that's fine. And the rest of it we're going to be working on as we go through this program. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. Really wonderful to have a nice global group. That is just awesome. And I look forward to working with you all once we get started in a few weeks' time. So the way it's going to roll, once the launch is over, I'm going to give that kind of 2 weeks to roll. And then once that's over, I will then start, you know, looking at dates for the first session. And some of those I'm just going to put them in. So you kind of go, we're doing that, we're doing that, we're doing that. And maybe I'll do a little bit like the way I do the photo reading mastermind group sessions, is we roll those sessions. So we do a session and then we go, right, you know, when are we doing the next but one session? So it could be that the program rolls a little bit in that way, and we decide as a group what we want to do. But, you know, we'll get it started. Guest 120 says, thank you. Linda, you are more than welcome. So thank you for joining me. And yeah, I very much look forward to working with you for the Money Vibration Program. And if you'd like to join us, go to www.bit.ly/money vibration and come on board. And as somebody pointed out, she's like, it's £9.70 a session. Well, it was £7.70 when she joined, but really £9.70 a session. I'm pretty sure most people drop more than that on tea and coffee, on most days of the week. So if you look at it in those terms, if you just want to come and do the 10-part series with us, I would say I really do think that's a generous price. And the reason I'm doing the early booking discount is because you can start saving a bit of money straight away. And my suggestion for that is, if you're making that saving, maybe start by putting, if not all of it, some of the money that you save in terms of the 15% off, start putting it into your jar. Do something with it, to kind of signify how you want to be kind of working with money. So thank you for joining me. And if you need any further information, I'll just say it for the purposes of the recording. The email is marilyn@transformationstm.com. It's there on the screen. Marilyn is MARILYN @trance, TRANCE, as in hypnotic trance, FORMATIONS TM, as in trademark. So Marilyn @transformationstm.com. The website is transformationstm.com and /Marilyn Devonish, DEV for Victor, ONISH, if you want to follow me on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel, etc., etc. Christopher, so thank you. It's a joy to be in this class. Well, Christopher, thank you so much for joining us. And seriously, I'm not kidding. People, and even when I have guest speakers in, they always say, oh my God, your workshops are amazing. Oh my God, the people in your groups are amazing. And they really totally are. So I know I've had goosebumps about this one beyond. This is going to be freaking awesome. And even just looking at the people who are joining us so far, it's just going to be